Tom, there's a couple of subjects I'd like to touch on, then we'll open it up for some questions. One is the department as a professional service firm, and the other one's execution. So let's talk about the PSF first. So Tom talks about in any kind of corporate structure, and we have a structure too. We have our business machine, right? So we have different departments. And Tom talks a lot about that, about poor cross-functional communication being the source of most problems, and even talks about having lunch as the cross-functional lubricant. What is it? We talk about having lunch with other people and winning schedule.
Don't turn out to be so bad after all sometimes.
Yeah. This idea that a department, if it's accounting, if it's an appointment center, if it's service, okay, where all the problem people go, or whatever it is, that it doesn't have to be just some boring, department that might be a cost center to the company, that it could be something really special, right? No matter what function it is. And he has introduced this idea of a department as a professional service firm. So if you think of your department, let's say it's accounting, let's say it's the appointment center, let's say it's marketing, as its own company. What would you want to do that's really special to delight your customers, right? So marketing's customers is the appointment center, right? Appointment center's customers is the sales department, so forth. What special thing, what secret sauce could you bring to the mix? Just talk about this professional service firm idea.
Well, the basic idea is exactly what Larry says, that there are specialist parts of the organization. And we tend to call them all sorts of charming names, like overhead, cost center, and it's utter nonsense. Because particularly in today's world, where the technology is getting more and more sophisticated, those can be the engines of value added in the organization.
Right, and we like to talk about sales and production. That's what we think about, right? In our business, typically contractors, it's about sales gets all the attention, right? All the attaboys, production puts it in the ground. These are the heroes, right? What about the other functions?
Yeah, I mean, I wish I think it's in there somewhere, but I'm not going to take the time to look it up now. I gave a speech, I think it was in Colorado. At any rate, I had in my audience the guy who runs the great specialty bicycle company, Trek. And he was talking about, for example, how they had transformed their accounting department into the number one value-added part of their organization. And basically, instead of treating the accounting department as people who gave out bad grades or people who, chased people down, instead of chasing people down, you were helping them succeed. And their accounting department was working with their vendors. Their accounting department was working with their distributors to help make them successful. It's the same idea that we've been talking about, all along. And so, the notion, I just hate the idea of cost center. I hate the idea of overhead. I love the idea. I always use the example of a 13-person training department. Your 13-person training department ought to be the best training department in the industry, and they ought to be doing outside work for profit on their own. And why not? And why not? And execution, Larry. I will tell you the first story in the book, and I will tell you the first slide in every presentation that I've given in the last 5 years. There was a banquet in New York City celebrating the life and success of the great hotelier Conrad Hilton. And people got up and they told these stories and so on, and finally, it wound down, and the master of ceremony said, "Mr. Hilton, will you please come up here, and would you share with us your secrets of a lifetime?" And so as the story goes, Mr. Hilton, who was an elegant man, then in his 80s, walked in front of this audience of grandees, and he looked out at them and he said, "Remember to tuck the shower curtain into the bathtub." And as the story is told, he then turned and walked off the stage. And that was it. And I love that. I come to your hotel because of location, 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 and you spent $1 jillion on some bloody Swiss architect, so it's the most gorgeous thing in the world. That's why I come to your hotel. That ain't why I come back. Come back for the shower curtain. Come back for the shower curtain. And in particular, as I also like to say, you know what else that story does? Relative to some of the things we've been talking about before, it says the most important people in the hotel are the housekeepers. You know, there's something that Larry uses and that I found, and again, it's this little stuff, and it sounds trivial, but to me, it's like an 8.0 Richter going off. And it is the one that comes from the Ritz-Carlton organization. And it's only got about 5 words. And it is, this is the Ritz. Ladies and gentlemen serving ladies and gentlemen. Now, why the hell do I think those are the best words ever written? And I think that they are that because of Mr. Hilton's comment. I can assure you, and you know as well as I do, the average housekeeper in the average hotel has not been treated like a lady or a gentleman probably since birth. And you have just given that person the greatest promotion on earth. Ladies and gentlemen, serving ladies and gentlemen. And it's just words, it's just a little touch, but you know, I've talked to Ritz-Carlton people, it changes the bloody world. It changes the people who were in last place are now in first place. And stuff like that. I mean, the thing that Larry has pushed and I've pushed, and it's the one thing I'd just love to leave behind, is it's the little stuff like that that just blows the roof off. And it's the little stuff that leads to growth, and it's the little stuff that leads to happy customers. And in today's world, it leads to the happy customer who uses social media and tells about 80 gajillion people the fantastic job that you did for them. And your job's got to be technically right. That's not what the hell they say. You know, what do they say? They say, oh, you know, this little touch, that little touch, that's what you remember. And you know, you all are in some tough businesses, and you're in tough businesses that require hard work, and they require things that can be technically measured. And, you know, I understand that. And I've just been looking at this stuff for a long time, and I will guarantee you that it's the tucked-in shower curtain and the guy who arrives at 10 of 11 and parks the car until 11 o'clock and gets out and walks in the door that I'm talking about 30 years later.